Microsoft has been making a name for themselves ever since they released Microsoft Windows for the first time in 1985. Nowadays, it is safe to say that they are one of the, if not the biggest tech company in the world. While they have been making waves with their release of Windows 10, it seems that their implementation of Microsoft 365 has become an integral part in the daily functioning of many organizations around the world. Of course, with such an integral tool being the center point of functionality, there are many that are worried about the security and defensive capability that is built into the system. Let us take a closer look at that. Welcome to our channel. Today, we will be taking a look at Microsoft 365 and its most common threat vectors along with defensive tips that can be followed to combat them. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell icon in order to support the channel and to ensure that you will not miss out on our future uploads. Without further ado, let us dive right into the video. Most organizations have begun shifting all of their daily operations onto the cloud by relying on services like Microsoft 365, Google Cloud, and Amazon Web Services. However, all the positives come with its own negatives, as cybercriminals have noticed that this sudden shift benefits them greatly. They have been on the rise by creating all sorts of attacks and exploitations to use the cloud platforms as an advantage to steal data. A report by Proofpoint claims that 59.8 million messages from Microsoft 365 targeted thousands of organizations last year. The report continued to state that more than 90 million malicious messages were either sent or hosted by Google. This just goes to show how much these attempts have been growing over the years. According to Ryan Kallenber, Executive Vice President of Cybersecurity Strategy at Proofpoint, it all aligns to a general pattern. He claims that the pattern shows that there is an increase of cloud-based attacks that go along with the abuse of cloud email services in the past. While the abuse was a certain way in the past, today's attacker infrastructure is seemingly different. Kallenber elaborated on this as he claimed, "Now, if you're an attacker, you can just compromise a few Office 365 or Google Workspace accounts and use that to do everything from launch your attacks to host your payloads. Frankly, it is a one-stop shop if you're an attacker. It's all you need from an infrastructure perspective." Kallenber gives us his excellent viewpoint when it comes to this. This could be either on Microsoft 365 or another major cloud platform. Whatever it might be, it doesn't matter whether an attacker wants to conduct research for a business email compromise or get someone to click a malicious link in the early stages of a ransomware attack. All kinds of attacks can be done with a compromised cloud account, especially if it's a cloud email account. In the perspective of an attacker, it is a useful place where it can probe for information because there is a likely chance that the information will not be blocked. What drives most attackers towards Microsoft 365 is the sheer size of it, as it has a massive user base. While there are some companies that use G Suite as an alternative, the CTO of Vectra, Oliver Tavakoli, describes Microsoft 365 perfectly as the 800-pound gorilla in terms of that collaboration space. The attackers see a lot of value within the data stored inside the Microsoft platform. And the scary part is, they also know the most efficient way they can get their hands on it: infiltrating the cloud. By now, we have established that a compromised cloud account is very useful for criminals. But how exactly are they abusing these platforms to get what they want? What do these attacks look like? Let us take a closer look. Vectra researchers took the initiative to compile the top threat detections in most Azure AD and Microsoft Office 365. These are the ones that are mostly seen among the company's clients. According to their research, the most common that they have noticed is the Office 365 risky exchange operation. What this entails is that the system ends up detecting an abnormal amount of exchange operations happening within. This may be an indication that an attacker is manipulating Exchange in order to steal specific data or to further progress their attack. A scary number of 70% of Vectra's customer base has reportedly triggered this detection per week since the start of 2021. The report continues with the second most common threat detection. It involves suspicious operations in Azure AD. Abnormal Azure AD operations can be considered bad news, as it could be an indication that an attacker is escalating privileges in order to perform admin-level operations after taking over a regular account on the server. The attackers end up using the privileges of Azure AD in order to have an easier time hacking in. Tavakoli goes on to elaborately visualize this attack. If I break in and have your credentials merely by adding you to a particular group, the downstream effect of that might be in Office 365. You now have access to a whole bunch of SharePoints that you didn't have. If I've stolen your account, then giving your account more rights and then using those rights in the application is a very interesting attack vector. This showcases a severe problem in Azure AD where there is no clean separation between the things that everybody should be able to do and the privileged operations that should just be limited to the admins. This can end up being an exploitable tool for attackers to use. Tavakoli spoke regarding this. Now we have to effectively sharpen the pencil and really figure out how to tease apart the operations that matter to the attacker from the ones that don't. There is another method that attackers are growing reliant on, according to Proofpoint's Calendar. The use of OAuth applications and other third-party applications that connect people to Office 365 and Google Workspace accounts can be just as dangerous. The way these pages work is not through phishing, even though that is the popular theory. They do it through getting people to trust them. According to Calendar, it is an easy feat for an attacker to create a fake version of SharePoint online and then send a phishing email. If they succeed in their endeavor, they manage to obtain an OAuth token that can take the form of a person's credentials. He goes on to claim, the attackers then leverage that access in all kinds of different ways. They'll leverage it in highly manual ways and read the contents of that inbox, send an email as that person, and conduct further attacks that way. Another way they use these tokens are in automated larger campaigns in an effort to capture more credentials and compromise an even bigger number of accounts. Microsoft 365 Defense Tips and Challenges. According to Verizon's 2021 Data Breach Investigations Report, the majority, which is 85% of data breaches, usually involve a human element, and about 61% of them also involve compromised credentials. Calendar puts it elegantly as he said, "This is how attackers work now. They don't hack in, they log in." He also notes that only 3% of attacks showcased in the report by Verizon are done through vulnerability exploits. This means that it has become a top priority for organizations to make sure their credentials are protected from attackers that rely on such techniques. When it came to methods that can be used in a protective manner, Calendar advised organizations to kill legacy protocols and add multi-factor authentication to everything facing the internet. These are two widely accepted steps that are followed by every organization that wants their assets protected. He also has an alternative for organizations that cannot afford a cloud access security broker or any other cloud security tool on the market. The recommendation comes in the form of Microsoft Sentinel, a tool that can be used by organizations to access Office 365 logs. He claims, being able to at least go back to the logs if you can't afford to deploy a CASB or cloud security tool that'll do that for you is really critical. It is said that security teams face a lot of roadblocks when it comes to Microsoft 365. This is because it provides multitudes of tools that can end up being a tool for attackers. One good example is eDiscovery, a tool that can be used to surface specific terms like password. This will search across email, Teams, and all other communication platforms inside Microsoft 365. While its original intention is to help employees find needed resources more efficiently, an attacker can use it to look for critical information. Tavakoli goes on to speak about this. When you have a very complex system that the defenders do not really grasp and you eject it outside your fortress walls, the attackers have an inherent advantage. They'll spend the time to figure out that complexity, and they will need to find some design patterns that tend to work for attacks, and then those design patterns tend to be incredibly reusable. Another thing that Tavakoli pointed out was the importance of understanding policies within Office 365. The way you use them depends on how you want the platform to function. It could either be a collaboration platform for the organization itself, or it may even have you working with external partners. Either way, it is important to establish key demarcation points. For one, those policies will put clear boundaries as to which parts of the system and which data will be available to external partners. Tavakoli claims that establishing exactly how many policies should be is a tricky call. However, he claims that the most you should have is somewhere around 10 to 15, as 100 different policies will be a key weakness that attackers can exploit. He speaks of this short and sweet when he says, give users only the amount of privilege they need to do their jobs. Security is a detail that we all need to keep a close eye on when it comes to organizations. With the growing danger of hackers and exploits, we must ensure that our data stays protected. be it be personal or corporate. With that, we have reached the end of today's video. Did you find this video educational? Let us know in the comments below. If you wish to see more videos like this, subscribe to our channel and press that bell button to get an update every single time we upload a new video. Make sure to like this video and share it with your friends and family. Thanks for watching and see you all next time.